I'm going to quickly once again try to give you a complete explain to you what is it that is visible, and perhaps also give you information about surrounding the rover and what is it that it is going to do. Now you take a look at this gold foil over here. Now that is one part of the rover. Now this image has been clicked while the rover was descending from the ramp of the Vikram lander that was opened up just moments ago. Now this image has been taken by the lander of the rover. Now this is, I think, one third of the rover that has been captured by the camera that is installed, that the lander comes equipped with. Now an important, very obviously glaring feature over here, this is one of the 6 wheels of the rover, and this is the ramp on which it is descending onto. Here you see on the bottom left is the surface of the moon. Yes, you see a number of these depressions. These shadows is what you see are actually the depressions on the moon. What is actually also visible over here is, if you can see this inverted V that you can see. Now this is the rocker. This is the rocker bogie. Now what this rocker bogie does is it allows for any sort of bumps, boulders, depressions, potholes that the rover climbs onto. What it is going to do is it is going to absorb any of those movements up and up, 50 millimeter up and 50 millimeter down. So if rover were to then come across a boulder or come across a depression or a pothole on the lunar surface, well, these shockers is what I am going to call them. This is the rocker bogie assembly that has been put up. This mechanism will allow for the rover to absorb these shocks, these upward to the movement 50 millimeter upwards and 50 millimeters downwards. And giving you more information about the rover, it's 26 kgs. Is the rover, and it can travel up to the distance of 500 meters. That's the distance you can travel up to, and it is obviously remotely attached to the lander, and that's what makes it. And then it can make all the discoveries and capture images and relay it to the lander, which is then going to relay it to the center, the ISRO center at the ISRO headquarters. So this gives you an all-encompassive view and information about what the rover is going to do. And here's a look at the image that was shared by ISRO, the first image that was shared by ISRO during the powered descent that took place of the lander. So while the powered descent, the last 10 minutes or so, and while those 10 minutes were being recorded by ISRO with the lander camera, this is the image that the lander camera actually shared. Now there are, these are again, you can see these depressions, these shadows that you see, the black shadows that you see, these are actually the bumps and the depressions on the surface of the moon. This is the south pole, in fact. So and quickly, if we can, this is again the rover. If we can again put back the image that we had of the first image after the lander soft landed, and it took the image of the south pole of the moon where it landed. So these are interesting facets that we learn, new discoveries that we make, and it makes for, it's a fascinating, knowledgeable experience.
One thing I want to isolate a couple of things, okay. Number one, this is an actual photo, okay. We are no longer looking at animations of what might happen, can happen. This is the actual photo. So let's just do a quick sequence, Megha, of the sequence of events as it happened. Can we get the visuals while the landing was taking place, the one you were playing before this, please?
Yeah.
And that'll give us a sequence of events of what is taking place right now. And let me try to explain to them the best that we can. So this is the sequence of the photography that was taken during the descent, the last phases of descent, and you can really see the micro cratering. The micro cratering are these very, very small diameter craters that are available on the moon. Some of, none of these have a particular name to it. You can see so much pitting is on the surface of the planet, because every time of course there is a strike of a foreign object, it also then has multiple strikes along with. So this pitting on the moon, which is a fascinating thing. So this is the image camera, remember, that is recording during landing. There is a second image camera which is actually using algorithmic artificial intelligence to pick a spot. So this is real time. They're finding out, okay, here's a hole, here's a boulder, here's a hole, here's a boulder, which is the clean spot which I am going to land on. And this is happening all automatically because the telemetry time from Earth to the moon is too long to make real time decisions. So this is all happening on board. So this is the imagery one by one by one by one. So now you have a larger topography of the landing site, and you can imagine how complex the landing site is, because so pitted with so many of these micro craters, so pitted with so many of the boulders, which is of course are ejected when the crater is formed, and of course all covered in dust. Now let's have a look at what happens once the landing takes place. The first photograph that we saw of the lander actually on the face of the moon. Let's get that photograph on our screens. Now we've been discussing this for a length period of time after we saw it first here on NewsX. This part over here is of course the landing leg, and you can just see the shadow, and you can see some other shadows over here which are indicating to you the various components which are casting a shadow, the antennae that is casting a shadow, but the very triangular, the landing leg of course made up of A-frames, and the A-frames are culminating in a landing pad, and you can clearly see the shadow of the landing pad over here. And this is the imagery taken away over there. Again, a lot of micro catering around it. Okay. So this is the image, first image that has come from the lander. Now let's have an image of the rover deployment. And the good news is that the rover deployment has happened within hours, which means everything has gone off fine.
Yeah.
If they had to take out more time with telemetry, more time figuring it out, testing systems, rebooting, nothing has happened. Within hours, they managed to be confident enough to deploy the rover, which means it's operating well. It's telling you, yes, I'm okay. I'm doing good signals. So this is the rover. The rover, remember, is on wheels, but the wheels are not the rubber kind of wheels that we have. Okay, so you have traction wheels which are running on a belt. This is of course to give maximum traction on the lunar surface. This is clearly the chassis of the rover, okay, which is connecting to the wheel. So you can clearly see the metal strut. The gold foil that you're seeing, which is covering the important bits of the rover, is done for two things. Okay, it's for thermal insulation and of course for radioactivity. Okay, remember, the moon does not have a magnetic field. Forget the atmosphere, it doesn't have a magnetic field. So whatever is on the moon is being bombarded with radioactive particles from the sun. The Earth's magnetic field, the Aurora Aureolis, which you see, the northern lights, that is the radioactive particles being shun off by the Earth's magnetic field. As soon as you put something in space, you not only have to provide thermal shielding, but you also have to provide radioactive shielding, and that's the part that you see over here, because you have a lot of sensitive equipment, and the radioactivity of the sun will fry all this equipment if you don't have that shielding. Now, if you just step away, okay, you're getting an understanding of how this rover deployment has happened, and a perspective of what the rover is going to look like once it's out. Okay,
yeah.
So it's going to roll down. It obviously has a suspension. It's going to have the basic things that people who run no cars can recognize. Okay, the wheels are going to be different, but on top is going to be the equipment which the rover will be deploying. And as Megha was telling you, it has a limited radius. It has its own power bank and power supply. It has a lifespan of 14 days. It might go on longer. Because the good thing about the south pole of the moon, as we've been discussing all evening, is that you have constant sunlight because it's fixed in space. So the solar panels are constantly receiving sunlight. So the lifespan is an underestimation. One lunar day, 14 Earth days is an underestimation. We'll probably be able to go longer than that, fingers crossed. And the telemetry which you get from here is going to be fascinating for science. We have to take two takeaways from here, okay? One is when we get the first shot of the rover at a distance, and the second takeaway is when the telemetry makes a big discovery. We've already discovered the water. Now what more are they going to discover? Because they're not only going to be pointing cameras on the lunar surface and doing the soil sampling and all the spectrometry is going to be going on. They're also going to be pointing a spectrometer back at Earth. So you might make discoveries closer to home about something of the composition of the Earth that we're about to learn. So it's a fascinating deployment. I am assuming, as all solar missions, as all lunar missions, that they will also deploy a mirror which NASA uses to take distance data from the Earth using lasers from the Earth. So this is it. Look at this beauty. coming down on the surface of the moon on a foreign object. Absolutely fascinating with its own power bank. It can be driven from Earth with commands, but it is also capable of performing autonomous operations. Ladies and gentlemen, what a treat it is to be here on this day. Can you imagine this is the surface of the moon and we just drove on it? Wow, mega.
It actually is a wow moment. It's spectacular, and the fact that we have been able to do this for the first time and the only time any country has been able to do this has been India.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.